Okay, in this video I'm going to introduce you to the concept of planometric sketching, planometric drawing, planometric projection. Okay, planometric is very similar to isometric, but with one key difference. In isometric, when you were constructing the corners, say, of a cube, like this angle in here would have been 30 degrees. But with planometric, the main difference, one of the only differences, is that those come up like this to be 45 degrees in here. And everything is built with this 45 and 90 and 45 kind of framework. That's what a planometric drawing is. So we're going to stick down that important part that it's 45 degrees is what we're concerned about. Now, strictly speaking, you can do planometric with other angles, but for now we'll concern ourselves only with the 45 degree variant of that. Now, in order to do this tutorial to follow along, you don't really need anything, a pencil, or in my case a pen, okay, anything like that is needed. Now, I want to start off by showing you a little trick, and I use this trick on my practice sheets. I would never do it on my final stuff because, as you can see, it can be quite destructive to your final page, but for so long as you're practicing and sketching, and for so long as you're using loose sheets of paper like this, then it's quite easy to rig your paper up so that finding those 45 degree lines is quite easy. And the way that you do it is you fold the paper down on itself. Okay, so I'm folding the paper down so that the edge from one side meets the edge of the other, and you just very gently crease that line up there. And we've already created a 45 degree line up our page. So let's keep doing that, because the more lines we have, the easier it will be. Let's fold that up to the top, and again crease it. I'm not creasing it too drastically here, but I'm going to go around all four edges like this, and this just lets us go ahead and put down some 45 degree construction lines without the use of instruments or grid paper or anything like that. But as you can see, it does tend to ruin your page somewhat. But nonetheless, I've now got a page with some 45 degree lines in it. So the first thing we're going to talk about is constructing a planometric box, a crate, because as we know from other video tutorials, when you can master the creation of a cuboid or a box or a crate, then you can put more complicated shapes inside it. So let's go ahead and do that just now. I'm going to be using these 45 degree folds all the time because I have a tendency to wander off 45 degrees. So I find these quite helpful. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start constructing my first planometric box right here. So there's the basics of it. Two lines going up and a line going back. I'm drawing very lightly. I'm using a biro just so that the camera can pick it up. And we need some parallel lines in, parallel to the ground line, right there. 1, 2, 3, sort of parallel lines in there. And then handily, I've got another fold up here that I can just make sure I'm on track with. So I'm going to construct this box. I'm sketching very lightly, just like that. So that's the basics of a planometric cube. In fact, what I'll do is I'll probably pop in the back faces here as well, just so that we've got a sense of seeing through the cube and understanding what is near us and what is through the other side. My construction lines, my sketch lines are nice and light, but now once I start to see the shape in front of me, I start to darken them with outlines, leaning heavily on the pen and paper, and also holding the pen much closer to the tip, more like your writing grip. So there's a planometric box right there, and as you can see, if I put my pen there like this, these angles inside in here are 45 degrees. So what that does for your planometric drawings is it gives you a slightly more distorted view than you get through isometric, and it also gives you a view of your object from which you can see more of the top view of something. I think that's why they put the word plan in planometric, because you can see more of the top view. What it does tend to do is it tends to elongate your drawings height-wise like this. So you tend to run out of space. As you can see, I've almost crashed right into my head in here because it's quite hard to judge. But what I'd like you to do now is, using your folds as guides, is just go around your page and start putting in boxes. I want you to practice putting in boxes. It doesn't matter where you put them. You don't have to put them in the same place as me. But I want you to throw in some boxes. Vary the size, vary the shape, vary their proportions, but do make sure that lines are only ever at 45 degrees, sloping left and right, or straight up and down. Okay, draw these in. Let's just stick to sketch lines, but I do want you to draw the back. I want you to draw the sort of invisible side of the box too. So I'm going to put one in there. Let's put one up here. Like I say, you don't have to put them in the same place as me. You can just scatter them wherever you like. But I'm going to get some practice in drawing in some boxes. So let's take that to that point. I'm going to start to turn the page. This is a habit you should definitely continue to do. Just turn the page to your favourite drawing angle. All my boxes see through. Let's see if this camera finds focus again. Almost will in a minute. Okay, and just for measure, I think what I'll do is I'll put a real long one in here now. This box is going to be far from any sort of helpful folds, so what I tend to do is I tend to practice the direction I want to commit my line, and then come down here and I transfer that practice stroke. Practice, 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 up there like that. Let's pop in some verticals. Verticals are all the same height. And practice, practice, in there, and there. Let's take this back. Find that back corner. Okay. So if you wanted to pause the video at this point, you could do so and continue to cover your page with planometric boxes. I'm going to draw just one more and then I'm going to move on. So let's put a box in down here, and this will be the last one that I draw. Straight up and down, 45 degrees. Okay, so you can go ahead and you can do a lot more. But you can see I've used the folds in the paper to keep my lines nice and true and at 45 degrees. So the reason we're drawing all these boxes is, of course, because we can now start to chip away at the boxes. And what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to find, we're going to cut some of these lines in half, always half. So I'm going to use a red pencil for this. It's just so that you can see what's happening. You don't have to use a red pencil. But I'm going to chop that line in half, that one in half, and that one in half. And I'm going to start to put in more construction lines like this. I'm going to chop this one in half and that one in half, right there. I'm going to do that, and then carry that, cut all the way around. And hopefully what we can see that we're making here is, if I start to outline these construction lines, is we're kind of making an L shape just by cutting these lines in half. And this is the whole reason why we start off by learning how to draw boxes and crates, because it allows us to draw more complicated shapes. Let's take this box up here. Okay, let's chop this line in half, and this line in half, and this line in half, and this line in half. Join those up. For so long as you're drawing objects which are orthogonal and planar, such as tables, buildings, cupboards, things like that, then this method of constructing crates and chopping bits off the side is a good way to make more interesting shapes. This one, let's not bother chopping this in half. Let's go from this point to this point, and this point to this point right here. is going to make it as a kind of wedge shape. That's a terrible line, too thick and fat, but there we go. Over there, we leave our hidden detail hidden, nice and light. Okay, so we've drawn a wedge right there. And then this one down here, this final little box, what we're going to do is I'm going to chop, I'm going to find the halfway point there, and the halfway point there, and the halfway point across the top. I'm going to do the same at the other side. So halfway across the top, halfway up that line, halfway up that line. And now by joining these together, what we should be able to find in amongst all this cage, this crate of lines, is the skeleton or the structure of a little house. Let's start darkening this up. Again, once we've got the basics in place of the roof and the walls, we start to add other construction lines. So let's cut this one in half and that one in half. Put a construction line across. Drop down a couple of lines here and here. Make a little door and window right there. Let's take that blue pen. Let's take that line and send it backwards. And we can put a little window in there. Let's chop the ridge line in half and the gutter line in half. Put a line down like this and maybe stick on some sort of roof windows as well. And you could keep going just by using these 45-degree lines. We could add a little garden into things like this, and even attempt some arbitrary sort of path shape in there as well. So in simple terms, that's an introduction to planometric sketching. We've learned today all about the 45-degree rule for planometrics. We've also learned a quick way of how to carve up your page, how to put folds in your page to help you draw planometrics. We've reinforced and discussed the importance of having light sketch lines and darker, bolder outlines to help your sketching. And really it's just a great step forward is to practice drawing loads of these cubes and chop bits out of them and make interesting shapes.